Hi, my name's Freya.
And I'm Wilf, and we are both teachers at Circus Central.
Today we are in the Mill Lane building in Fenham in Newcastle. We're going to be starting with an introduction to juggling, and we're going to begin with some brain teasers.
So the first thing we're going to do is you're going to get a thumb out, doesn't matter which side you do that on, finger out on the other side, and all you're going to do is you're going to try and swap them over. So you're going to swap and go thumb and finger out on the other one, and be careful you don't get stuck with thumb and finger up, because that happens quite a lot. And then you're going to try and swap again, and then see how fast you can swap like that. And it takes quite a bit of practice, but it's a good one just to try and get your brain into gear.
Yeah, so you can have a little go at that one. If you're not getting it super fast, that's okay. We have another one for you to try as well. So you're going to get another finger out, and you're going to draw a square in the air. So you've got nice 4 lines for your square, and then you can put that finger away, and you're going to try and draw a triangle with your other hand. So you've got nice 3 edges for your triangle, and then you're going to start with your fingers on either side. And you're going to try and draw these at the same time. So you're going to try and draw your square with one hand and your triangle with the other. This one's very, very tricky, but it's very, very fun when you get going. Yeah, and you can try on the other side, so you can try and draw a square with the other hand and a triangle with your other hand.
And then if you're in a room with someone else, have a look at their face, because they'll definitely have a concentration face going on.
Concentration faces are the best. So now our brains are all warm, we're going to start with some juggling. We're going to keep it nice and simple, and we're going to start with 1 ball.
And obviously, if you don't have any juggling balls, that's absolutely fine. You could maybe use a bean bag if you've got one lying around the house, a tennis ball, balled up socks, which everyone will have. And let's have a go.
So where can you stash a ball? You could stash a ball in your elbow.
You could stash one between your chin and your shoulder.
You could stash one in the back of your knee.
Under your chin.
On top of your head.
On your chest.
On your knee.
On your foot.
In your hip.
There's loads of places you could hide one, so just be creative with it, have a go, see what you can come up with.
So now we've done some stashing of the juggling balls around our body, we can start with passing them around our body. So you can start in one hand and you can pass it under your leg. You can
do it under your other leg.
Yeah, or you can pass it behind your head.
Round your body.
You can maybe pass it to someone else underneath your arm.
Put it back.
Put it back.
And
Where
then
else could you pass it?
You can pass it in lots of different ways, same as before, be creative with it. And then obviously a big aspect of juggling is throwing and catching. So we'll have a little practice of that. So have a go, just nice and easy to begin with, throwing it up, catching it with 2 hands. And have a few goes at that, making sure you're cushioning it like that.
You can try from the other hand as well. Make it nice and even, so make sure you're not always throwing from one side.
And then you can have a go at throwing 1 ball to the other side, and this is definitely a little bit more towards the juggling side now. So throwing 1 ball to the other side and keeping your eyes on that ball, but just you don't need to follow it all the way with your head, because obviously when we get to juggling with more balls, you end up confused with where you're looking.
You can throw a little bit lower, you can see if you can pass it shallow, you can see if you can pass it a little bit higher.
Yeah, and then there's also lots of different body parts you can throw it under or over, so you can throw it like under your arm and back to the other side.
You can throw it under your leg.
Yeah, you could throw it, I don't know.
You can throw it behind your back.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's quite a hard one though.
That is quite a hard one. You've got to lean forwards really far and throw it almost to your shoulder. And it comes out in front of you.
Nice.
Okay, so now you've had some practice with some throwing, we can start and make them a little bit more complicated. If you're still practicing your throwing, that is fine. But if you would like an extra challenge, you can start to throw it from different parts of your body or bounce it off different parts of your body.
Yeah, so see if you can bounce it off a knee or maybe off a foot, or like Freya was just showing with her elbow.
Yeah, you can pop it out of your elbow, so if you put it in the crook of your elbow, a nice stash place, and straighten your arm, you can send it upwards.
Yeah, and just like all the other bits, like just see what you can come up with those ones. And then when you're getting a bit more comfortable with the 1 ball stuff, next step after that is the 2 balls. So with 2 balls, it's the same process with the throw-in. So you're still doing this 1 to the other side and just side to side like that. But then obviously you're adding in the 2nd ball, so it's going to go 1, 2. And when you have a go at that, it's really confusing. There's 2 balls in the air, it gets really confusing. So start with just going 1, 2, and letting them fall to the side. And as long as they're crossing, you're doing it absolutely right.
And you'll notice that the juggling balls are quite close to Wilf's feet. So you want to get them nice and close because that means that they'll be easier to catch when they're coming back down.
So once you've tried and you've thrown them and they've both landed on the floor, like Freya was saying, you're going to try and get them to move towards your feet. So before you're throwing them, they're going quite far away. Then you're going to see when you throw them, can you get them a little bit closer to your feet? Because that means when you try and catch them, you're going to find it much easier. And then after that, try and catch just the first ball you throw. So I'm throwing with my right first. I'm going 1, 2, letting that other ball fall to the floor, just trying to catch this one. And then obviously making sure that you're catching both ways, so you're working both sides of your brain. So 1, 2, trying to catch the other side. And then after that, you're going to try and go 1, 2, and catch them both.
You can always say in your head, throw, throw, catch, catch, to make it much easier.
Definitely.
So you're not trying to throw and catch at the same time, because that is really hard.
Yeah, and then you can start to see where the 3-ball pattern's going to come into it. So 1, 2, and then there was that big space in there, and that's where the 3rd ball's going to go. So 1, 2, throw, that would be the 3rd ball. Yeah? So
Yeah.
do you want to point to where the space would be for this 3rd ball?
Yes.
So I'm going to throw, throw.
In there, so
Throw,
as you're
throw.
catching that final one. We've started looking at some 2-ball juggling now. I would like to mention that from what a lot of people see in cartoons, they will often refer to a shower, which is when you're passing one ball across the bottom. This bit gets really hard as soon as you get to 3 balls, so really make sure that you're going throw, throw, catch, catch. You're not passing underneath.
Yeah, so like Freya was saying, if you do this throw and pass, you're going to end up with this pattern, which is actually a trick that you learn when you can already juggle. So all of your tricks in juggling start from this cascade. So just making sure that you're going with this crossing pattern rather than over the top. So with your 3 balls, making sure that you're not going over the top like we were saying, you're going to do the same thing as you did with the 2. So you're going to go throw, 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 and just let them all fall on the floor. Same as before, obviously you want them to try and land as close to your feet as you can, because that means when you're catching them, you're not going to have to shift your weight across to catch them like that. And you're also listening to the sound that they make, because when you're juggling, if you throw them and it goes, it's quite an uneven sound, it means your pattern's going to be uneven as well. So you want to make sure when you're throwing them, it's sounding like 1, 2, 3, like that. Yeah? And then, just like we were pointing out before, your pattern is always crossing. So it's exactly the same as Freya's going to demonstrate with the 1 ball.
So if you watch the orange ball, you'll see that it's just going across. I'll try and get it at the same time. From Wilf's left hand to his right hand and back. And that is the same as what all of the blue balls are doing as well. So it's actually very simple when you break it down. It just takes a little bit of practice to get used to having 3 in the air at the same time.
And the progression route's exactly the same as the 2 balls. So you're going to throw them all, just try and catch the 1. And then you're going to throw them all and try and catch both of them. And it won't just happen straight away. I've been juggling for a long time. And then you're going to throw them all and try and catch all 3. And then the next sticking point you'll find when you're learning is throwing again after you've thrown those 3. You'll often find people get stuck like trying to throw but just can't quite. So again, you can go back into that dropping them on the floor. So going 1, 2, 3, and then just making sure you get that next one out your hand. And then over time, it's going to build up. And another thing that often goes wrong is people end up walking forwards or their pattern travels upwards. So just get someone to have a watch of yourself or film yourself and just see and make sure that those common mistakes aren't happening.
You can also juggle facing a wall to stop yourself walking forwards. Just keep trying. It takes a while, but I believe that anyone can learn to juggle if they put their mind to it.
Just so you can see where it's going to progress to once you've all had lots of practice. So you've got your juggling with 3 balls. You can try and throw them a little bit higher. You can take them into this really small pattern. And then what you can do is also reverse cascade. So that's the opposite of this one. There's half shower. There's also full shower, and there's a thing called columns, and you can do a little isolation whilst you're doing columns. Also goes into machine, a little robot claw, And then you've also got quite a hard one, which is Mill's Mess, which is a particularly confusing one. And then once you've mastered lots of different tricks with the 3 balls, you can also try with other objects. So you can have a go with some clubs. There's also rings that you can juggle with.
Yeah, so you can juggle with so many things, but obviously start from one ball, keep it nice and simple, throwing from one hand to the other. You can try your fancy throws like under your leg or under your arm, all of those lovely ones. You can build up to 2 balls. Remember your throw, throw, catch, catch. Remembering to throw from both sides. So if you've got 2 colored balls, you can always start with the orange one. And then eventually building up to 3 for your lovely 3-ball cascade. Keep it nice and simple, nice and even. Take your time. It is a very hard trick to learn. But yes, thank you so much for watching today.
Yeah, we've really enjoyed teaching you. Bye-bye.
Bye.